All right. Hello and welcome to the FedNow Community Town Hall. I'm Megan Banta-Lewis from the St. Louis Federal Reserve, and I'll be your producer today. Before beginning today's event, I just want to run through a few logistics. If you're having difficulty with your audio, select the Switch Audio option from the Audio and Video menu at the top of your WebEx window. Enter your preferred phone number to switch your audio connection over to your phone. We'll also be using our Q&A panel to collect questions for today's speakers. Feel free to ask any content or technical questions in that panel on the right. Lastly, just as a reminder, if you don't have the WebEx application, utilize Google Chrome or Firefox as the preferred browser. I will now turn the webinar over to Vice President of Industry Relations at the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, Cassie Quimby. Cassie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Megan. Can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
Good to go. All right. Thank you. As Megan mentioned, my name is Cassie Quimby. I'll be your host today. We're so happy to be here with you for our third quarter FedNow Community Town Hall, this time by live video. So this should be fun to maneuver over the next hour and a half. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us for our time here together. We appreciate your continued engagement with the community, which now numbers over 1,500 members. So we're very pleased about that. And I want to just extend a warm welcome to all of our new members who've joined since our last town hall in May. We are so pleased to have you with us on this journey. So thank you for joining us and being with us now. All right, let's turn to, perfect. Oh, you're on it, Megan. Okay. So let's look at our agenda for today. We're really excited to start off our town hall today with a panel discussion featuring three excellent speakers, Blaine Fury, Margie Giles, and Andrew Haskell, who are FedNow Pilot Program participants representing different kinds of organizations and therefore different perspectives on the journey towards FedNow. We thought it would be beneficial for you to hear directly from them as they share their experiences in preparing to offer instant payments via the FedNow service. We suspect you all might be tired of hearing just from us, so we thought this might be a nice addition to the conversation at this point. So my colleague Jesse Vitetti will facilitate this discussion. Our panelists are going to touch on things like how they're planning their strategies and building their business case, challenges and opportunities they've encountered so far along the way, and some of the best practices and lessons learned so far during their journey. So hopefully these kind of, personal accounts of this experience so far will be valuable to you. Our goal is for you to walk away with a better understanding of what planning and implementation of the FedNow service requires. And if we don't cover certain details that you'd like to hear about, you're more than welcome to ask our panelists via the Q&A function in the bottom right-hand corner at any point during the panel, as we have allotted time for them to answer your questions at the conclusion of the panel. So I would encourage you, as we always do during these town halls, just send us your questions on a flow basis at any time throughout the panel. It's helpful to us to kind of be getting the questions on the back end and queuing them up so that we can get through as many of them as possible with as little stress as possible. So we'd appreciate your help that way. All right, to round out the agenda, I'm also going to preview a number of upcoming engagement opportunities and educational resources designed with you, our community members, in mind. I just mentioned this again, you'll have opportunities throughout this town hall today to share your thoughts with us, not just during the panel. So before we close, we've also set aside time for general Q&A about what we've covered and FedNow more generally. We do this at the end of all our town halls, so nothing new there. Again, you feel free to please use that Q&A box in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and start typing those in for either Q&A session. We'll manage it on the back end. Okay, so without further ado, let me turn this over to Jesse to get us started with our panel discussion. Jesse?
Great. Thank you, Cassie. My name is Jesse Vitetti, and I'm the Assistant Vice President of FedNow Industry Readiness. And as the leader of the FedNow Pilot Program, I've really enjoyed working very closely with our 120 plus pilot organizations who represent diverse financial institutions and service providers. Currently, the pilot program is in an advisory phase where participants are helping to further define the service and its adoption roadmap, our approach to industry readiness, and to help us gain overall understanding of their instant payment strategy. We've been able to gather many key learnings from the pilot, and I'm excited to have a few participants join me today. So let me introduce our panelists and extend a warm welcome to them. So we have Blaine Fury from Freedom Bank, Margie Giles from Aloya Corporate Federal Credit Union, and Andrew Haskell from Bank of New York Mellon. It's great to have each of you with us today. So we'll do a round of introductions. So let's start with Blaine. Blaine, will you please take a few minutes to share about your organization and role, and some background on where your organization currently stands on preparing to offer instant payments, and then we'll go around with our panelists.
Thank you, Jessie. My name is Blaine Fury, and I have the pleasure of working for Freedom Bank in Columbia Falls, Montana. I am the Management Information Systems Officer. The longer the title, the more important the job, right? My role is to identify, implement, and optimize technology solutions to help our bank be as effective and efficient as possible. That's been more important than ever. I'm sure as many institutions have experienced, we're handling and adjusting growth, and being a much larger institution today than we were even just 20 months ago. And when we heard about the FedNow service and the development of that, we knew that it was something we wanted to participate in and play as active of a role in as we possibly could. Our institution has kind of stayed on the sidelines in the P2P and real-time and faster payments, just to sort of see how things would shake out. And we're looking forward to a solution that we hope will kind of offer more competition and more options for us as a community bank to offer our customers faster and instant payments.
Thank you, Blaine. Let's go to Margie next. Please tell us about yourself and your organization.
Sure. Thanks, Jessie. It's a pleasure to be here to share with everyone. And I am the Senior Vice President of Operations at Aloya Corporate Federal Credit Union. And as a corporate credit union, Aloya provides investment and liquidity and payment transaction services to over 1,400 credit unions and related credit union service organizations across the country. Our mission really is to support credit union success, and we do that in the payments area by offering a full array of payment solutions, from checks to domestic and international wires, ACH, and of course, we are on the journey to faster payments. My role specifically as the head of the operations area within our payments group has to do with oversight of all of our payment delivery, product deliveries, as well as the compliance and new product implementations. So I have the pleasure of both working on the strategy side and product development, as well as the responsibility to ensure that once products and services reach production, that they run smoothly and are compliant and are efficient. So as far as our role in the pilot, it's been a multi-year journey just getting even to this point. And I think that it's been a very interesting and insightful time, and we've gained a tremendous amount of knowledge over the past year or so. We've also been gaining some experience with real-time payments, and in addition to participating as a FedNow Pilot participant, we've really honed in on what our value proposition is to our customers and have identified internal and external stakeholders. And we have also reached out and identified some external partners, trusted vendors to work with through this journey. And right now we're at the point where we have a pretty good idea of what we want to offer and how we're going to go about it. And now we just simply have to build it and test it and make it all come to life. So we're looking forward to that.
Thank you, Margie. And last but not least, let's go to Andrew.
Okay, thank you, Jesse, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Haskell, and I'm the Director and Product Line Manager at BNY Mellon for our immediate payments product team. And this is inclusive of clearinghouse real-time payments, tokenized payments with Zelle, and now the FedNow service in partnership with the Federal Reserve. And our journey has been quite a long one. We were very active within the Faster Payments Task Force many years ago. And coming out of that, we saw a real opportunity to offer something new and creative for our clients, both our large multinational corporates, as well as our financial institution clients, to bring to them the immediacy, the transparency, and the availability of real-time payments. To that extent, we were the first bank that was live on the real-time payments network when that launched in November of 2017. And we've been very active within the build out of that system ever since. At the same time, we've been working very closely with the Federal Reserve, knowing that they too can help expand and bring ubiquity to the United States for real-time payments. So we saw this as a really no question for us to participate within the FedNow service, being able to extend the reach of real-time payments for our clients, and most importantly, for their customers to be able to transact with them. For FedNow specifically, we've been working with the FedNow team since the ISO 20022 workshops that took place at the second half of last year. And since then, we've been able to take those ISO specifications and the XSDs and begin development in advance of the launch in 2023. So over the next roughly 18 months or so, we'll be very actively focused on building out real-time payments and the FedNow service to work together to give our clients one offering to both networks and expand their reach. So we see this as being very advantageous not only to our clients, but also to us as an institution. We use real-time payments today, and we'll use the FedNow service when it's available for our own accounts payable and accounts receivable. So we are our own consumer. And then lastly, I'll just say that we're also really excited that the FedNow service is going to offer correspondent banking. That's in addition to the role that we play as a direct participant and as a third-party service provider. So we see this as a third option for us to bring another option to our clients. So really excited to be here today and happy to share some insight with this team. Thank you.
What great introductions today. Thank you all so much. So to help set the stage for our conversation, I'd like to start by sharing an update on the overall FedNow Pilot Program. And in particular, I'd like to mention the goals that we set out for the initial phase of the program and the status as of today. So we kicked off the program with an advisory phase, which is a series of engagements meant to educate our participants on FedNow features and functionality, technical requirements and design, and processes such as accounting and reconciliation, onboarding to the service, as well as operations. A stated objective for this phase was to gather participant feedback to help ensure FedNow service meets the need of the industry. Financial institutions and service providers have shared their experiences and viewpoints during pilot sessions, and we have incorporated feedback as appropriate during the build of the service and also the identification of its future roadmap. Our intent during this initial phase was also to provide value to our participants who have dedicated so much time and resources to collaborating with us. We hope that the information that we have shared on design, features, capabilities, and configuration options for FedNow has helped our pilot members so far to shape implementation activities and tasks for their organizations in preparation for testing and launch of FedNow. Finally, learnings from the pilot program have been very helpful to us in identifying consideration, challenges, and needs of our organizations in their journey to implement instant payments, which has allowed us to create educational content and resources to share with our broader industry audiences, such as the FedNow community. So now let's turn it over to hear from our three panelists. So I'll go through a series of questions, and we'll take turns answering. So question number one, are there particular needs or use cases that drive the business case for instant payments? Andrew, maybe you can start.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to, Jesse. So in terms of needs and use cases, first starting with needs, this is where if we look at our own lives as consumers, we have the ability to send and receive information, movies, media, text 24/7, 365 through a number of mechanisms, whether it be through a cell phone, or tablet, online, a watch, etc. But the same has not always been true for payments. Even though there have been systems that have come along in different applications, primarily from fintechs that provide a somewhat real-time experience, there is still that delayed process on the back end. And so these consumers are now realizing that there is a delay, a disparity between the movement of the information and the movement of the money. And so there's a need to be able to couple and align those two. In addition, a lot of organizations, these large corporates, want to optimize their efficiencies within their treasury services systems. And so they're looking for using automation, using newer technologies such as APIs, and they want systems that are as robust, as interactive, as seamless as their existing systems to be able to move money. And today, with some of the delayed net settlement systems, it doesn't offer that same experience. And then lastly, the need for safe and secure transactions and control. And this is, again, going back to the consumers, that they want more control over their transactions. We know this is especially true within the gig economy workers who want more control over to when they move funds on their own terms. So we have all of these needs that have built up within the marketplace, not only from consumers, but also from corporates. So now let's take a look at some of the use cases that we've seen within our space. Primarily, it's consumer bill pay, and that's where a number of large telecoms, utilities, healthcare providers, insurance companies, they want to be able to revolutionize their receivables processing by taking advantage of some of these new payment technologies. At the same time, consumers want more control over their payments. And so the ability to use services such as the request for payment message or the e-bill through whatever mechanism be possible, whether it's through FedNow or others, is of high interest to both of these parties within that payment equation. Additionally, a number of these large corporates are looking to move away from checks and also from the fees that are encountered through interchange. And so again, this is where using real-time payments in the FedNow service really lend itself to revolutionize these receivables, make them more efficient, and then help out both parties on both sides of the equation. In addition, I would say lastly are in terms of immediate disbursements. This is where on off hours, because it's 24/7, 365, if let's say an insurance company needs to send funds to one of their policyholders at 2 a.m. on a Sunday due to some natural disaster, they can do that, and that consumer can then go to an ATM, withdraw that money, and go along with their lives. So we see it as being very advantageous not only for receivables, but also for payables. Back to you, Jesse.
Thank you, Andrew. Blaine, would you like to go next?
Of course, thank you. I think it's, was easy or maybe more exciting for us to initially think about edge cases or situations where instant would really make or break something. But in our conversations internally and with our customers, we found that instant wasn't really as critical, but what our customers needed and wanted was certainty. Andrew alluded to this disparity between the information and the actual settlement of funds. We sometimes have to tell our customers, because we're relying on third-party service providers, the funds should be available within 1 to 2 days, or that ACH should get picked up by, for the last nightly processing cycle. We're very eager and excited to have that certainty and for our customers to know that the information and payment settlement are synced up together.
Great. Thank you, Blaine. Margie?
Yeah, there's a lot of common themes here in terms of the use cases for real-time instant payments. And I would resonate a lot of what Andrew shared and Blaine in terms of the use cases that we're hearing as being, more popular, especially in the recent year and a half. We've had some really good examples of situations from both the consumer side as well as the business side in terms of the need for quicker payments. And I think, the pandemic certainly accelerated the desire for and the usage of digital payments, and the need for the instantaneous, irrevocable nature of these payments has really, I think, come to light for a lot of people. And I think from our perspective, some of the use cases that we're hearing a lot from our members. So again, our members are credit unions, and across all of our members, they represent over 30 million consumers and small businesses in that. So it truly is a microcosm of the people that are out there, doing payments, that have needs for different types of payments. And so looking at, from a consumer standpoint, just the faster nature of the payments for people who might be working, and working paycheck to paycheck and might have some cash flow issues, or perhaps they've undergone some financial hardships and they need to receive those payments in a more immediate time frame. We also have heard of use cases across the spectrum for the account-to-account use case, which is people who may want to aggregate their funds from multiple accounts, whether these are accounts at other financial institutions or cashing out various wallets that they might have, and really needing to consolidate those funds in immediate timeframes due to perhaps some immediate need or financial hardship that they're experiencing. On the business side, I think that there's a tremendous opportunity here for businesses to take advantage of streamlining their receivables, their disbursements, using the request for payment capability, which Andrew mentioned. And so I see that there's an opportunity for a lot of custom solutions to integrate with FedNow to disperse insurance payments, to make payroll more frequently based on end user needs. So it's a great time. I think that the timing of this is really perfect in terms of people becoming more aware and understanding what real-time and instant payments can really do for them.
Great, thank you. So let's transition from talking about use cases and the business case to telling us a little bit about your instant payment strategy, and in particular, your goals for offering the FedNow service. So if we can take a couple of minutes each to address that question, that will be great. Andrew, I'm going to put you on the spot first again, and then we'll go in the same sequence.
Okay, great, thank you. So from our perspective, as noted, we've been participating with TCH for a number of years. And so we saw this as a unique opportunity to expand the reach of the network for our clients through the FedNow service. And the role that we took has been very aggressive, is that we want to give our clients, and again, from our clients, we don't bank consumers or small businesses. We are uniquely focused on large multinational corporates and other financial institutions. So we are a banker's bank. And so we want to provide them with as much reach as possible. And we saw that as being possible through the connection of the FedNow service. Now, where we are is, again, we've been very aggressive with RTP over the last few years, offering the full suite of messages. The intent is to be as aggressive within FedNow to be able to offer as much parity between the two systems as possible. Now, we understand that there will be some nuances between the two, and that's where we see ourselves as adding a lot of value into that process to be able to give our clients access to both, using some of their same APIs and user interfaces that they use today. Additionally, the focus is working with Blaine and these other organizations to enable them to come onto the network so that our clients can reach them. Again, it takes really two to tango within these networks. So we need both the sending organization and the receiving organization. And so through the work with the FedNow team and during the workshops that we've had within the pilot program, we've been able to share some of these learnings, best practices, and work together with these teams to be able to really rise the water for all ships involved in real-time payments so that we all collectively benefit. It's really this true collective effort. In terms of our development today, we are in the process of coding. Again, we already have the ISO specifications that are released at the beginning of this year. And we're also looking to build out and educate our own internal teams, being able to identify what the differences are, what the nuances are, and then also, lastly, to educate our clients and the broader network that we work with as to our role within this space, knowing that it is possible to be both pro TCH and pro FedNow and offer both together. And then lastly, we see this as being advantageous to our own institution, again, for our accounts payable, accounts receivable, and our other lines of business that we offer within BNY Mellon. Back to you, Jesse.
New button. Sorry, Blaine, back to you for your answer.
Thank you. For us, it was looking out at the horizon and seeing this continued change happening. We felt that if there wasn't sort of a safe and secure method for instant payments, those transactions were going to happen somewhere, whether it was non-financial institution fintechs or cryptocurrency. And there was a chance that financial institutions like us could kind of just get left in the dust. And so our strategy has been to make sure that we focus on the safety and security of the system. And for an institution our size, we're going to have to leverage third-party providers. Our account processing is fully outsourced to our core provider. That's also who we use for our online and mobile resources. But what's exciting about the FedNow service being, a payment rail developed by an independent agency is hopefully, and what we're already seeing is that that's spurring a lot of innovation and competition amongst potential third-party providers. So we look forward to being able to leverage a system that we can count on as being reliable and, most importantly, safe. And we look forward to kind of evaluating the different service providers that we can use to have an end user interface for our customers to connect or leverage that FedNow service.
Great. Thank you, Blaine. Over to you, Margie.
Thanks, Jesse. For Aloya, our strategy and goals really connect back to our mission to support credit union success. And so once again, our customers, our credit unions, we call them members, and we look to try to simplify their back office, their ability to participate in some of these more complex, high-tech payment initiatives. And so rather than them coming up with their own solutions, everyone, we can really create and help create a foundation for all of them to work off of. And really, as a corporate credit union, we are the correspondent for many of our members, and the settlement and the liquidity management services that we can offer are truly agnostic from the various specific use cases out there. So by leveraging those types of capabilities, it will enable our members to focus more on their customer base and the use cases that they want to deploy out to their customers. And I will echo a bit of what we've heard from Andrew and Blaine about safety and security, and really what it comes down to is trust. And our members trust us in terms of their money and our capabilities to provide sound, secure solutions. And I think as we get into the world of faster and instant payments, it's something that everyone who's offering end user solutions needs to take a really strong look at the safety and security of these irrevocable payments, and ensure that the authentication of those end user solutions is solid, and whatever agreements and that they need to have in place are reviewed, and that it's very, very clear, and to provide the most secure method for entertaining instant payments as possible. So again, our strategy is really just to enable all aspects of participation in FedNow for our members. We also have been offering RTP solutions on the other network, and have been gaining experience from that. But ultimately, our member credit unions will decide really what's right for them in terms of timing and the services that they'll want to offer, the use cases that will resonate most with their customers. There's definitely are many pieces to the puzzle, and so engaging internal and external stakeholders is something that we've been doing to help formulate our strategy and our goals, and I would encourage anyone embarking on this effort to really do the same.
Thank you, Margie. So maybe we'll stay with you for the next question, and then our colleagues can jump in if needed. So what tipped the scales and motivated you to be an early adopter of FedNow versus taking a wait-and-see approach? Was there a specific aha moment?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't recall a specific aha moment. It seems like since the moment we were talking about real-time payments, instant payments, we knew that it was something really just on the continuum of the various payment services that we offer to our members. And we have been involved since the beginning with the Fed faster and secure payment task forces, and a number of my team members participate in the Faster Payment Council work group. So we've always really, been known that this is going to be on the path for us, given the impact that we have across our membership. And we want to help our member credit unions remain relevant to their end users. And really, we've been on this journey for quite some time. I would say, momentum continues to build, and it's really just a natural place for us to be an early adopter and work to help simplify and streamline the back office environment for our members and help them understand how they can best take advantage of instant payments for their members or for their customers.
Great. Thank you, Margie. And if Blaine or Andrew want to quickly jump in, I'm also looking at the time, so as a moderator, I also had to keep an eye on the clock. So, but if you guys want to jump in, please do so with this question.
I just had something an anecdote to add for us, our aha moment. I mentioned earlier that we'd been kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what happened in this real-time payment space. And, you know, as a community financial institution, we have to be really careful about how we allocate resources, and we have to understand and recognize that we can't do everything. You know, for example, we don't offer a credit card product because we couldn't do it as well as a lot of the major players that are already out there. So we've been picking and choosing things that we can do really well. And when we saw the announcement of the FedNow service, that for us was perfect. This is our opportunity where we can offer the same type of product, a competitive product that can match, you know, what a customer may get from a much larger institution.
Great, thank you. Andrew, want to jump in?
Yeah, I would say no real aha moment, except for when the FedNow team said, you know, this is going to be real, then we said, count us in. So it wasn't really much of a question, just, okay, this is something new that we will connect into and we look forward to it. And I was just remarking earlier today that I can recall very well the Q&A session that took place at the New York Federal Reserve a few years ago when we were talking about, you know, how is this going to work? How is it going to be the same or different than other systems? And we knew right then and there that this was something that we wanted to entertain and we wanted to move forward with. And so as the Federal Reserve has built this out over the last few years, it's been nice to see the team adding into this. You see the breadth and the depth, and it's really been encouraging. And so we're just happy to be a participant within the system.
Great, thank you. So we'll stay with you for the next question. What considerations like internal business processes, technical aspects, or competitive factors were reviewed, and what internal teams were involved in your decision to pursue instant payments?
Yeah, so really was offering our clients the latest and the greatest, but again, keeping in mind our risk culture or our control of risk within BNY Mellon. If you looked at any of our brochures in the last few decades, risk is at the center of everything that we do. And then we are always looking to have a safe and controlled system. And years ago, we saw that these final irrevocable payments taking place on this new system were a way to control risk. And we saw settlement risk, concentration risk, and a few others that were eliminated or reduced using immediate payments. And so we saw this as being very advantageous to us and our organization. And we also wanted to go forward and offer something new to our clients. If we think that there hasn't been really a lot of progression within payments since 1974 when ACH came out. And even though there are these fintech solutions out there in the marketplace, again, there's that disparity that we've talked about a few times throughout the day today. And then also moving to that 24/7, 365 type experience. And then this goes into the question about, well, what about the internal work that was required? There's a misnomer out there in the marketplace that in order to offer a 24/7, 365 system, that every single one of your internal processes and services needs to also be upgraded. And that's simply not the case. And so I would encourage anyone listening here to work with your internal teams. First, educate them. Make them aware of what real-time payments and immediate payments are and how they differ from other methods of payment that exist today within your organization, whether it be an institution, corporation, etc. And then do their investigation to see what are all of the upstream, downstream, and supporting systems that need to be investigated as part of this, which ones need to be upgraded to 24/7, 365 processing, which ones need to have the SLAs reduced to microseconds or milliseconds, and then which ones can stay in more of a batch processing. And then using that frame of reference, then start to develop the business plan internally to say what technical systems need to be upgraded from an operations. How do they need to be educated on supporting these new services? Luckily, instant payments has the benefit of being 100% straight through processed. Now, that doesn't completely eliminate operations. They do still play a role, but it's a different role than what they played before. So again, educating them. And then lastly is educating your customers and also your internal partners like your compliance, audit, risk, legal partners as to what these services are, what they do, what their benefits are, what the limitations are, and then how they fit into your general ecosystem. So it's a lot to take in, but it comes back to education and awareness across both internal and external partners, and then also investigation internally to identify what systems do need to be upgraded and what systems can maybe have some more iterative or smaller upgrades now and prepare for the future later.
Great, thanks, Andrew. Blaine, Margie, any brief remarks from you?
I think a lot of what Angie just described completely resonates with you know, a lot of the thoughts and experiences that we've had, and totally agree with the fact that you don't necessarily have to re-engineer every process in the organization. First, you know, get educated and then make wise decisions, prioritize accordingly. So makes perfect sense.
Great, thank you. So for this part of the panel, we'll transition to the topic of planning and lessons learned. So I may start this one. So as I stated earlier, one of the goals of the pilot program was to really gather insights and feedback from participants in an early stage as the service was being built. So I'd like to share some of the lessons we learned and insights that we have gained through the program, which have helped us influence our build our features and functionality and even the roadmap. So a few examples of where we have incorporated participant feedback include the design of the FedNow interface, which will be available via Fedline Solutions. Also the design of our onboarding process, which is currently being built, and of all various reports which will be available to help organizations with accounting and reconcilement processes. We've also taken input regarding our liquidity management transfer functionality in terms of limits and hours, and also have been getting some feedback regarding corresponding controls and sign-off capabilities. So recently, pilot participants were also invited to test certain features of the FedNow online experience, which is a website that is being built to explore the FedNow service. So feedback from this test is being used to identify issues and improvements to the website's design, the organization of the topics, and also the user experience. And additionally, I would like to mention that through the frequently asked questions posed by our pilot participants, we really have had an opportunity to shape our programming schedule and content for our pilot sessions. And in addition, the educational content that we make available through the pilot program as well as to the FedNow community. Also, we have heard some feedback from pilot participants, many organizations that are interested in acting in a correspondent role to other financial institutions and have been eager for more information regarding participant profiles and participation types, reporting options for reconcilement purposes and connectivity. So using this frequently asked question, we're actually planning a session that is targeted for these organizations, first for pilot organizations, and then we will extend that same type of session to the FedNow community. And we continue to solicit feedback on topics of interest from our pilot group and weave these topics into our programming and also our educational efforts. So now I'll turn it over to our panelists for the next question. Can you share some of the relevant lessons learned so far in your instant payments journey that will be of interest to organizations similar to yours? And maybe this time, Margie, you can go first with others adding after you.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting to think about lessons learned. We're partway into the journey. So I'm sure there will be more lessons learned as we move into the future. But I think at this stage in the game, there's really two lessons learned, kind of general lessons learned. One is that this solution, this new FedNow instant payments, it's not an all or nothing proposition. I think it's something that each institution, each company needs to evaluate how they want to participate and what the right timeline is for them. You don't have to do everything all at once right at the beginning. So you need to kind of look at and educate yourself on what the options are, and figure out what the right path is for your organization and your customers, and then plan accordingly. I mean, there will obviously be some infrastructure that will be necessary regardless of how you want to participate, but you definitely don't have to do all the bells and whistles from the very beginning. And I would say one example of that would be, possibly for some institutions, setting up a receive-only capability might be where you want to start, and then gradually move towards enabling the sending of instant payments, which with that comes along the responsibility to determine how you're going to manage funds, the whole liquidity management and replenishment on a 24/7 by 365 basis, and what kinds of tools, rules, automation might be required in order to satisfy those types of things. The second lesson learned, and we've heard this in some of the other remarks, but really I think that collaboration and partnerships is really key in this endeavor. There are a lot of pieces to this puzzle, and regardless of the size of the organization you might represent, there are opportunities to work together, to leverage the strengths of different partners, trusted partners that you have relationships with, or others that might have solutions that could meet your needs. And so I think some of the questions, there's some questions in the Fed Readiness Guide that's published and available, but just to kind of highlight a few of them that can help organizations determine why they might need partners and who they might want to partner with, has to do with just thinking about the end user tools that you want to employ for sending instant payments, both from the consumer standpoint as well as businesses, and even within your own organization if you want to take advantage of that. And how are those end user tools going to connect to the network? And also, what is your mechanism going to be to post to your end user accounts in real time, and determine also the liquidity needs if you're going to be supporting sending of instant payments. So all of those types of questions and thoughts can help lead towards determining who might be the best partners to work with. And lastly, I just want to emphasize, really, there's no time like the present to start understanding this and learning about it. There are a lot of great resources out there in the Fed community. The Readiness Guide is a great place to start to get a really good understanding of what the pieces are, and how to start setting your stage for what's yet to come.
Great, thank you, Margie. Blaine, Andrew, anything you would like to add?
Sure. For us, the lessons learned, it's been interesting. I will say our first and probably biggest lesson is maybe a little elementary, and that was understanding the distinction between a payments service and a payments product. When we first thought about this initiative, we had in our minds this picture of our customers having a FedNow app on their phone that they would open. So the realization that, that's not what's being developed as the FedNow service was an important one for us to get early on. And I wish then my colleagues and I could have been in the same room during those ISO message sessions that were highly technical, because I bet all of our faces were kind of, like, do you know that? Do I know that? So as Margie mentioned, recognizing the opportunity and for us, the requirement to work with third-party providers who thankfully will do a lot of the legwork for us, so that we can focus on serving our customers and end users and supporting them in their use of this service. And another thing that Margie had mentioned earlier was regarding fraud. And our institution has recognized that the immediacy and irrevocability of instant payments definitely means that we need to be much more proactive when it comes to identifying potential fraud and responding to fraud solutions. We see in our own institution that some consumer education will be really important. Even now with fintech payment solutions that are completely unaffiliated with our financial institution, we do spend a significant amount of time supporting our customers in situations where maybe they sent funds accidentally to the wrong person, or they're the victim of a scam or fraud through these platforms. And we look forward to the opportunity by having a tool of our own that is connected to the FedNow service. We're hoping that we'll have many more resources at our disposal to help support those customers and handle those circumstances.
Thank you, Blaine.
Yeah, and just to add on, what Margie said last is, from our perspective, the most important. Start now. There's no time like the present. Because this is such a new system and it is very different than existing methods of payment, it's good to start now, not only for your own setup and development, but also for that education. So absolutely no time like the present. Second is the education piece. Again, making sure that your clients, whether they be internal or external, are aware of these services, knowing that there is a bit of a ramp up period. If your customers are using large, sophisticated ERP or treasury management workstations, it may take some time for them to develop the integration with your API or other file services to be able to use this. So again, the sooner you can start in those client conversations, the better. And then lastly, I would say is talk internally and brainstorm to see, does this actually require a net new build, or are there other services within the bank that can be repurposed or re-engineered to support instant payments? Meaning, do you already have a wire transfer operations team that you can leverage to also support immediate payments, knowing that there are quite a few similarities between the two systems? So again, it's really that client education, both externally and internally, and then finding out what needs to be done, and the sooner you can start, the better.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. So let's go to the next question for our panelists. Can you share what process you use to better understand your customer needs as they relate to instant payments?
And I'll jump in. I'll start. So for us, it's really talking to our clients and finding out what are those use cases for them specifically. And it's going to differ, whether it's telecom, utility, insurance, etc. For some of them, it may be just bottom line. How can I make a more cost-efficient system that can still meet our needs for us and for our clients? For others, it may be enhancing the customer experience, again, giving them that control and that benefit. And then lastly, for others, it may be the rich information that is associated with real-time payments. And so it's really identifying which one of those use cases best resonates with your clients, and then also what are some of their pain points and challenges. And so once you understand their use cases, their pain points, and what their goals are, then identify what is the best mix of solutions. We know that immediate payments is not going to replace ACH or wire. There will be some cannibalization taking place, but it's not going to completely replace. And again, making sure that you can formulate the right recipe for your clients is what we see as being most valuable to them in those discussions.
Great. So we have maybe a minute or so before we go to a more general Q&A. So Margie and Blaine, did you want to add anything to what Andrew just stated from your perspective?
Sure. Go ahead, Margie.
Okay. So yeah, I would just add, similar process, a lot of education, just trying to do some level set on definitions, helping everyone understand what instant payments really means, and start talking the same language. But then we've done a number of surveys. We've held some focus groups with smaller portions of our membership, and we were actually fortunate enough a few weeks ago to actually have an in-person meeting and get even more insight and ideas directly from our members. And what we've done is we've created some sample roadmaps that our members can, kind of think about, and as they learn more about what their customer needs are, they can look at the various options for roadmaps, because again, it's not a one-size-fits-all deal. It's going to be custom to the specific needs of each organization. So lots of different tools, and I'm sure we'll continue to use a lot of those, as well as in-person discussions, hopefully someday.
Thank you, Margie.
Mm-hmm. The last thing I'll add is for our consideration, it was, what use cases help our institution remain as the top choice for the services we provide well to our customers, while still giving them the option to leverage tools and resources from other financial institutions or service providers, whether it be investments or, brokerage accounts or things like that. And that use case of the account to account, being able to get money between those institutions is one that really stood out to us. And I will say, leveraging the use case examples that the Federal Reserve has provided has been really helpful for us to have those conversations with our customers. And it's been really fun to engage with customers who have maybe held off on any technology-based payment solutions, businesses that are maybe in more rural areas and rely more on just cash and check. So it's been interesting to talk with them to understand why have they been holding out, what are they waiting for, and what do they see as their potential going forward.
All right, thank you. So for the next part of our panel and the last piece of our panel discussion, we're going to transition to some of the questions that we have received from the audience. So the first question will be, how are you leveraging partnerships within your ecosystem to build or deliver an end-to-end solution, and how did you decide with whom you'd partner? Perhaps we can start with Margie, and then we'll go to Blaine and Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. I think you've heard a lot about, partnerships and collaboration. I think that's a common theme. I think across a lot of, definitely the three of us and our experience being in the pilot, as well as others. And for us specifically at Aloya, we had already formed a trusted partnership with a payments technology provider. So it's really continuing to work with them to define solutions, to build them, and we'll move into the testing phase next year. And we've also identified just partnerships with our own members and customers to act as what we're referring to as early adopters, to help us validate what we're doing, to participate in the testing, and all that's yet to come. So we definitely are leveraging partners, and really for us was a fairly straightforward decision.
Great, thank you.
We knew that it's crucial for our core provider to be able to handle the processing of instant payments. So I would encourage any institutions that are in a position similar to Freedom Bank to make sure that you're voicing your interest in an instant payment solution and connection to the FedNow service through the core system, just for that account processing piece at least. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we are eager and excited to see more of the various offerings coming from, whether it be our core provider or various fintechs that are participating in the pilot program, to see what solution matches our need and the value we want to bring to our customers.
And then I'll end by saying, from our organization, we built out our system as a standalone, very unique system. And we've done that with other systems internally. So we're a bit unique from Margie and Blaine in this respect. Where we're focused on in terms of partnerships is with our clients and how they can take advantage of instant payments. And we see APIs as really being the key avenue for this, but that's often met with some hesitation in that a lot of customers do want to take advantage of APIs, but there's also tech build that's required for that. And so we've found a lot of success in having more controlled pilots or different phased approaches for our clients to take advantage of these new systems, starting with an online UI and then transitioning to API. And that allows them to familiarize themselves with these new systems, ensure that their backend processes, whether it be accounts payable, receivable, or invoicing, can get up to date and up to speed on these new systems and ingest that data that's provided. And then as the network continues to grow, transition them from that online experience to that API experience. So we see this as taking place through a few different avenues. And again, it really comes down to that partnership, holding the customer's hand and walking them through this, because it's not only new to us as banks, it's still relatively new, it's very new to our clients as well, and making sure that we are that trusted subject matter expert that can help them along that payment journey.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. So we have a few more questions. So let's go to the next one. Margie earlier spoke about fraud and opening, and so I would like to open this question up to panelists. How does the panel plan, or your organizations plan on controlling fraud and fraud losses? And whoever wants to start first, sorry.
Yeah, sure. I can make a few comments on that, and then others can add. But really, it's a continuum of what we already do in terms of our oversight, our looking for fraud across various payment types, looking for suspicious activity. Ideally, we want to be, prevent any type of fraudulent behavior. And I think what I mentioned earlier about authentication, user authentication, and making sure it's multi-factor, that you have strong controls in place and a layered approach to your security is really going to be key, because again, these are instant payments, and there will be, I think, fewer opportunities for recovering these funds than in some other methods. So it's going to be important for financial institutions to, know your customer, follow the guidance for electronic payments, do your own risk assessment, and look at the controls that you have in place, and if you need to mitigate risks in any way, and what kind of investment that would take. And I would just end by saying, that's something to start thinking about now, along with all of the other items that we've mentioned, like use cases and products and all that. So.
And I would add on to that to say that there's not one specific solution to control fraud with instant payments. It's really the combination of many new systems. And luckily, through the advent of technology, through directories, account validation services, the use of tokens, etc., there's a lot of these new systems that can be incorporated to help augment your existing fraud controls. And also taking advantage of things like AI, machine learning, different velocities, to be able to identify any sort of transactions or trends that are out of bounds from your normal activity for your clients. And so really, in this case, the best offense is a good defense, and trying to build up those barriers as much as possible. I would also say that there's really no unique faster payments fraud. There are still authorized and unauthorized types of fraud. The challenge here, to Margie's point, is that the funds move so much faster. And so that client education and awareness piece is so important to ensure that there is some intentional friction within the process to educate and to say, treat these transactions like cash. They are final, they are irrevocable, and take some, proceed with some caution. Zelle has done a very good job to say only pay friends and family that you know and trust. That same logic should be applied to all instant payments. And so make sure that you are working with that counterparty, you know who they are, and then at the same time work internally within your bank and your organization to take advantage of all these controls, knowing that it's going to be the collection that really helps you not solve, but help mitigate this fraud as much as possible.
Great, thank you. So I think we can continue this conversation for the entire day. We should have probably scheduled a whole one-day event. But unfortunately, we are running out of time, and it's time for our panel discussion to come to an end. So Blaine, Margie, and Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your schedules to share your experiences with us and with the FedNow community. We really appreciate it and look forward to continuing our partnership. So thank you so much, and have a great day. And now I'm going to turn it over to Cassie for the rest of the program.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. And I just want to add my thanks again to our panelists. That was great. I hope that you in the audience found that insightful. We had a ton of questions come through, which is why we extended that a little longer. So hopefully that's a sign that this was a really good use of everyone's time. So if we could shoot over now, Megan, to talk a little bit about what we have upcoming for our community programming, I think that'd be great. So I'm looking at slide 4. Let's shift gears and talk a little bit about what we have left in 2021. Our commitment to you remains the same. As FedNow community members, we're really looking to design valuable resources to help you get ready for implementing the FedNow service. So last month, we launched the first installment of our FI Readiness for FedNow series, which includes kind of a mix of things: checklists, mini talks, we call them Fed Talks, and videos that cover product and technology planning, questions to ask your service providers, and more. I'd like to take just a moment to walk you through some of the key resources to look out for under this series. So in August, we published a pre-planning roadmap that takes you through the key steps on your path to 24/7/365 instant payments. These steps include understanding the demand for instant payments, assessing the need of your customers, and sharing plans internally. We also released a service provider questionnaire that helps financial institutions identify key questions to ask their service providers about offering FedNow, including questions about connectivity and implementation strategies. Again, we heard that from the FI perspective, we were getting a lot of questions about, how to engage, what kind of questions to ask. And so we hope that that's a step towards getting to fill that need for our FIs in the community. Coming soon is an operations and technology roadmap that will cover considerations about FedNow participation types, operational staffing models, and technology requirements. Complementary to these resources are several on-demand videos that will start rolling out this month on specific topics like product planning and understanding the timeout clock requirement. Okay, so Again, I'm just going to say this one more time. We built this series really based on your feedback to deliver information in a shareable and easy to digest format. I also want to point out that we're releasing 2 educational product videos on preparing for FedNow that will help bridge your knowledge about what the product will deliver once it's launched in 2023. All of these resources under the FI Readiness for FedNow series live on fednow.org and will be shared via our FedNow community emails as we continue adding to the series, to the content online. So you can go out there now, you can see everything we've done so far, and then keep coming back because there will be new things added on a fairly frequent basis. Okay, let's move to the next slide, please, Megan, because I want to talk about our ISO 20022 educational series, which we're launching as a pick your own path type of roundtable webinar series for learning and digging a little deeper into ISO specs. The launch pad to the series is a pre-recorded ISO session 1 that introduces the FedNow services, ISO 20022 message specifications, and how organizations may start preparing for implementing the standard. During the webinar, we'll introduce core aspects and benefits of the ISO 20022 standard, as well as the implementation approach of the standard for the FedNow service. Additionally, we'll feature a question and answer session, which dives into questions regarding the FedNow services implementation of ISO 20022. This first video is a foundation for future webinars that will launch later in October. I do want to note, however, that the My Standards Readiness portal will launch later this month. Okay, so how you or your colleagues elect to sign up for these ISO webinars will depend on your level of knowledge about ISO specs, your desired implementation of ISO to implement FedNow, and your role within your organization. So we kind of, again, we're thinking of this as like a pick and choose what works for you from this menu. So to sign up for these events, well, let me say this first, actually. Let me start here. The sign up for these events will be exclusive to community members first, but will eventually be available as pre-recorded events on fednow.org so that you can revisit the content later, and this content will be available to broader audiences. You can expect to hear more about these opportunities via our FedNow community emails. In the spirit of mutual interest and contributing to the success of FedNow, we invite you to come learn and share, and we welcome your collaboration in these forums. Okay, so that was my PSA on things we're doing to help support further learning and growth along our journey. But now we're going to turn it over and do a little bit more Q&A about maybe general topics, questions we received either through registration for this webinar or in the live feed that we've been getting pretty hot and heavy since we started. So, okay, our goal, as usual, is to get through as many questions as we can. Please remember, you can submit your questions at any time by using the Q&A button on the right bottom of your screen. All right. Jesse, you're back on. Great. I'm going to put you on the hot seat first because the only other person that can answer these questions is me, and I control the question flow. So I'll turn my first one to you. Jesse, could you provide a little bit more clarity around interoperability between FedNow and the Clearinghouse's RTP network? What does it mean for banks who are already live on the RTP network? And what do we see as differences between RTP and FedNow?
Great. So, Cassie, thank you for that question. So the Federal Reserve is committed to advancing the goal of interoperability for instant payments, working with bank service providers, and service operators towards a common goal, So progress is being made, and the work we are doing now lays a critical foundation for interoperability. So our use of the ISO 20022 standard, which is also used by RTP and other payment systems globally, will support interoperability through routing, which paves the way for nationwide access to instant payments and is highlighted as an approach for accomplishing interoperability by the U.S. Faster Payments Council. We finalized our ISO specifications with an implementation aligned with global best practices for instant payments, input from industry stakeholders, including the FedNow ISO 20022 working group, comprised of financial institutions of all sizes and service providers, affirmed our approach. This approach will promote efficiency and effectiveness by reducing potential frictions and costs, which may occur with deviations from the standard. We also engage with the clearinghouse on our ISO 20022 specifications. So through these discussions, we made changes to our initial specifications to support a high level of compatibility. All financial institutions will have the opportunity to choose whether to participate in one or more of the instant payments network based on needs related to use cases, reach, functionality, and structure. To that end, FedNow will enable a broad range of participants with different accounting and participation structures while having a broad and expanding list of features and functionality that facilitate the full spectrum of use cases. So like RTP, the FedNow service will be a new real-time payment system that includes settlement and instant clearing on the same rail. FedNow will be use case agnostic, which means that it will allow all payments, for example, P2P, if the financial institution is accessing an existing directory service. Looking to the future, the Federal Reserve plans to add capabilities that will help all financial institutions take advantage of additional use cases by adding directory capabilities to the FedNow service network.
Okay, thank you, Jessie. I'll take the next question here. How can small merchants benefit from FedNow? When will we see instant payments in mobile merchant payments or at point of sale? Okay, let me take a stab at this one. And Jessie, anything I missed, feel free to tack on.
No problem.
To what I say. Okay, the special value of instant payments for small businesses, at least in my mind, is a combination of getting paid faster and being able to pay others with more precise timing. So essentially, it's a mechanism to better manage cash flows, right? So small businesses could pay suppliers instantly or get paid faster in the event that they are a supplier. Small businesses could also wait until a specific day, for example, to release payroll funds in order to pay their employees on the same day. This could make their money management simpler and allow for conservation of working capital. Further, with the request for payment functionality that FedNow is going to offer, small businesses can transform one-off type bill payments and receive funds quicker too. So kind of just to recap, through FedNow, small businesses could pay their suppliers instantly, have all customer transactions settled and in their accounts instantly as well. With this, they would have more confidence to make day-to-day business decisions and then, essentially focus more on their customers and products versus the back-end payment flow, which I reckon is a welcome shift for them. So in terms of mobile merchant payments, we know many organizations and industry thought leaders are working through this. The U.S. Faster Payments Council recently created a QR code work group that aims to develop the QR code interface for faster and instant payment transactions, for example. And through our Federal Reserve industry engagements, we continue to hear about demand for C2B payments and have heard that FedNow's RFP request for pay functionality could help facilitate some of those needs early on and enable options like subscription payments too. So I'd say more to come in this space as we anticipate innovation will carry new use cases and applications to meet known and as yet unidentified demands. Okay. All right, Jessie, next question for you. Is the Fed building an end user interface for real-time payments?
Thanks, Cassie. FedNow will offer a user interface for financial institutions only. As you heard earlier in my update, that is one of the things that we are developing and where we took input from our pilot organizations. and they will be available through Fedline Solutions. For end-user access, financial institutions will need to explore opportunities for innovative new product offerings and determining how online and mobile banking and customer service support may need to change to support instant payments. So hopefully that answers the question, Cassie.
It does for me, Jessie. Thank you.
Great.
Okay. I'll take the next question. Will the Fed tailor future engagement efforts to specific components or interests for the participants? Yes, I hope that that's a message that we've communicated today already. We've received a lot of input from our community members about more tailored content in an easy to share format. I mentioned this earlier, but that's why we're launching the ISO 20022 educational series later this month, for example, that allows you or your colleagues to sign up for webinars depending on where your interests in ISO lie. Similarly, the FI Readiness for FedNow series that I talked about a little while ago has been packaged with specific key topics in mind and also in a shareable on-demand format to align with everyone's busy schedules. Again, both of these are available on fednow.org under Prepare for FedNow. It's a Prepare for FedNow page, I should say, and more releases will be added kind of on a flow basis, kind of, over the course of the next several months. Additionally, we continue to collect input from you, our members, via checkpoint survey, similar to the one conducted earlier this year. This is a key tool for you guys to let us know what you need. And speaking of surveys, actually, I'm just going to take time as a separate yet somewhat related plug to note that if you haven't already seen it, you might want to check out our new study that we recently released on corporates and instant payments. We think that this could be interesting, obviously, to this audience. It includes information like, nearly half of American businesses surveyed indicated the pandemic is accelerating their plans for faster payments adoption, and 9 in 10 businesses expect to be able to make and receive faster payments within 3 years. There's actually like a wealth of detail and information about corporate demand and thinking, how it shifted over the course of the pandemic, et cetera, that we think is really relevant to everyone right now who's planning for instant payments, planning to offer the service, to give kind of a point of view of where the market is and how it's shifted in the last 18 months. So you can view that full report. We put out a press release about it, but you can review that full report on fednow.org as well. So we're trying to give you a lot of different types of ways of support, of content that could be useful to you in your journeys to FedNow and instant payments more generally. Okay, next question. How is the Fed working with non-financial institutions to prepare for FedNow? I'll take this one, Jessie. I'll say that we recognize the you're welcome. We recognize the importance of preparing the broader payment industry for instant payments, including technology and payment service providers of all sizes. And that's why we're developing a program to help non-financial institutions explore opportunities with instant payments and support these kinds of organizations in integrating the FedNow service into their product and service offerings. More details about this program, some of the opportunities it's going to include, and how to join will be available in coming months here before end of year, certainly. So stay tuned for that. You'll see a lot about it. We'll put something out certainly in the FedNow community newsletter and on our websites and that kind of thing. So we'll make sure to promote it so it's in everyone's inbox who has interest. Okay, Jessie, I'm going to give you the next question, which is, what type of use cases will FedNow support, for example, for bill payments?
Sure. So, Cassie, I think I mentioned very briefly about our support of use cases in a previous answer, but the FedNow service is intended to be a flexible platform that supports a broad variety of instant payments, So while the FedNow service is use case agnostic, FedNow will support bill payment and specifically request for payment from launch. This will support both consumers or businesses requesting funds. But like I said, we will support a variety of use cases at launch and also in our future roadmap.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. Just a couple more minutes here, but I have a couple good questions I want to squeeze in. The next one's also for you. It's how does an independent software vendor get started building a product or service and integrating to FedNow?
Okay, great. So we encourage you these organizations to start by visiting FedNow.org and reviewing all of the available FedNow service documentation and resources. They can also visit the SWIFT My Standards site to access the FedNow service ISO 20022 specifications and guidelines. So if this organization is an ecosystem participant, we recommend that they collaborate with their partner bank and or processor to prioritize use cases for FedNow so that they can begin working on delivering the value-added services across the end-to-end payment value chain.
All right, thanks, Jesse. I'm going to give myself the softball question because I can. It is, can you point us to the readiness guide that we've been talking about? So yes, members of the community did receive our in-depth FedNow Services Readiness Guide. It actually came to you all via email this past July, so please have a look in your inbox. If you did not receive it, either because you didn't see it or because you weren't a member in July, you can request it from us via email at our FedNow community email address, which is available to you on our website and any of our community emails. Send us a note, tell us you like it, you can't find it, whatever, we'll ship it to you. We are going to be providing this guide in like a better, more easily accessible format here coming up shortly. So you'll also have access that way. But if you do want the preview now as a community member, we're happy to give it to you. We're just going to have to do it through email. Okay. We have one more question. And Jesse, I'm going to send this one your way. The question is, what is the view of FedNow to support delivery of cross-border payments?
Right. So Cassie, at launch and for release 1, cross-border payments are not in our immediate release plan, but we certainly have that in our future roadmap, responding to interest from the industry. And we do recognize the importance of cross-border payments. But we have our initial focus really set on our domestic objectives. But we do feel that the work that we have done with the ISO specifications and the work that we have done there with the industry and aligning with the standards will really help us in the future with our roadmap to offer cross-border payments and really paves the way for that. Excellent.
Thanks, Jesse. All right. Well, I think we ought to close. We're just right at time, 1 minute left. So I'm calling it. We're going to close it for today. I want to reiterate a couple of things to you all, though. One is our commitment to being transparent about our plans and progress and providing regular updates as we achieve key milestones in the delivery of our FedNow service. In the coming weeks, we will offer some educational resources to you, our members, via our weekly community email that reflects some of the insights gathered from today's town hall. So be on the lookout for that. I'd also, of course, like to extend a very special thank you to our panelists today for their time and commitment to the success of FedNow. These panels virtually are not easy. I thought they did an awesome job, and so thank you very much to them. And of course, a big thank you to my co-lead on today's town hall, Jesse. I hope that our conversation today made the progress being made by many in our ecosystem evident to you all in the audience. We look forward to continuing to collaborate, and we hope you're ready to continue on your journeys towards bringing the FedNow service to market with us in 2023. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in.